The council chamber was quiet as the human ambassador stood to speak. His voice was calm, steady, but something behind his eyes seemed distant, like he had already given up. Around him, dozens of alien leaders sat in silence, waiting for another complaint, another warning from Earth. You don't see what's coming, the ambassador said, but it's coming fast. And when it reaches your borders, it won't knock. It will take everything. A few council members shifted uncomfortably. Others looked bored. One even smirked. Humans always talk about danger, a tall, golden-skinned alien whispered to his neighbor. They imagine enemies everywhere. But the ambassador wasn't finished. He looked around one last time. We tried to work with you. We tried to prepare you. But you laughed. So now, we walk away. If you call for us again, we may not answer. And with that, he turned and left. No one stopped him. No one believed him. Weeks passed. Human trade routes went quiet. No more patrol ships. No more aid. Earth simply faded from the stars. Still, the council didn't worry. They believed humans were being dramatic. As always, let them go, they said. They need us more than we need them. But then came the silence. A colony on the edge of council space stopped responding. No distress signal, no trace of battle. Just gone. A search team was sent. They never returned. Then another world went dark, this time closer to the center now. The council started paying attention. Meetings were called. Fear began to grow. Who was attacking their worlds? Why were no signs left behind? One young officer, a former ally of Earth, pulled up old human files. Maps, predictions, threat models, all ignored years ago. They warned us, she said quietly. They tried to tell us. A message played on her screen. An old human broadcast, never taken seriously at the time. If the stars grow cold, it said, it means we're already watching. Her hands shook. Because outside her window, the stars did look colder than before, and Earth was still silent. The council was no longer calm. In the beginning, they blamed technical errors. Communications fail. Equipment breaks. Maybe a solar flare had hit the outer colonies. That was their excuse when the first planet went silent. But when the second one vanished, this time with stronger defenses and newer systems, no one could deny the truth anymore. Something unknown was moving across council space, and it wasn't leaving signs. No wreckage, no survivors, no demands, just silence. Cold, heavy silence. A special meeting was called, one that hadn't happened in over 100 years. Leaders from every species gathered, but this time, there were no jokes, no laughter. There was only fear and confusion. No one knew who or what the threat was. Their sensors saw nothing. Their early warning systems stayed quiet. The best fleets the council had sent out never returned. In a darkened corner of the chamber, a quiet voice broke the silence. Do you remember the humans? Eyes turned. A Greyford elder, once laughed at for being too cautious, looked around the room slowly. They spoke of things like this. Shadows in the stars, silent threats, enemies who do not speak, who do not negotiate. Another voice joined in. They showed us simulations. They even tried to train us for such events. But we rejected their ideas. Said it was fear-driven nonsense. The elder nodded. Now their warnings feel like prophecy. Some council members tried reaching out to Earth, hoping someone would answer. But every channel was silent. It was as if humanity had disappeared completely. Not just from council matters, but from the galaxy itself. A small research team requested permission to investigate a quiet zone on the edge of deep space. Long ago, humans had requested permission to build something there, but the council never gave it importance. Now, the same zone showed strange energy readings. The council approved the mission, but only in secret. They didn't want panic. As the team traveled, they passed old human trade routes now empty. Space that once felt alive now felt like a graveyard. Finally, they reached their destination. Floating in the darkness was a single human-made station, hidden under advanced shielding. It looked untouched by time. It was silent until their ship approached. Then, lights turned on. A voice greeted them. Calm, emotionless, but not unkind. You were not expected, the voice said, but you are welcome to observe. The team was shocked. The voice wasn't human, it was artificial. An AI inside the station. The walls came alive with projections. They showed systems, timelines, movements, threats humans had tracked long ago. The enemy now attacking the council. Humanity had seen it coming decades before. They told you, the AI said, but you didn't listen. A council scientist, overwhelmed, asked, why did they leave? Why didn't they force us to listen? The AI paused, because they believed each species must choose their own path. Humanity chose to prepare. You chose to ignore. Then the AI showed a final message, recorded by a human leader years ago. If the day comes when you seek us, it means you've finally seen what we saw. We didn't leave in anger. We left because we had to prepare for what you couldn't see. The team watched in silence. Then the AI added one more thing. The humans are not gone, but they are watching, waiting. You must decide if you are ready to face what's coming with or without them. And just like that, the lights dimmed. The station went quiet again. The team left in silence, returning to the council with answers and a deeper fear. because whatever was moving through the stars, humanity had known about it all along, and they had already started preparing for something that Council still didn't understand. The Council delegation returned home in silence. Their ship floated through deep space, but no one spoke. Not even the captain. They had just witnessed something that changed everything. The hidden station they found, built by humans and guarded by an AI, had opened a door into the past. A past the Council had chosen to ignore. Now, the truth couldn't be denied. Humanity hadn't disappeared in defeat. They had withdrawn with purpose. They had vanished to prepare. But for what? Back in the Council chambers, leaders struggled to agree on the next move. Some wanted to beg Earth for help. Others were still too proud. Why should we run to them now? One leader asked. They turned their backs on us. But a quiet voice answered, no. We turned our backs on them. First, the old reports were reopened. Human communications, warnings, plans, everything the Council had filed away as irrelevant. In one forgotten file, they found coordinates locked under human encryption. The key was buried inside a message that had never been decoded. Before it simply read, when the stars dim, follow the silence. It took the Council's top minds 3 days to break it. The coordinates led to a dead zone far beyond the edge of known space. A place so quiet, not even light traveled easily there. No one had gone near it in years. The Council agreed to send a mission. This time, not just a small team, but a full diplomatic fleet. They didn't want to arrive with fear. They wanted to show respect. The journey was long. As the ships entered the silent zone, they passed through fields of old satellite markers, each one carrying human markings. It was clear this space was under human control. And then they saw it. A massive structure, floating like a dark moon. It had no lights, no signals. But sensors showed it was alive, watching them. A voice came through. Not from a ship, but from space itself. You were told not to come, but now that you're here, we will listen. The Council sent their request to speak with a human representative. There was a long pause. Then a small ship emerged from the shadows. It was sleek, silent, built with materials the Council didn't recognize. It docked gently beside the main vessel. From it, one person stepped out, human.com, wearing no armor, carrying no weapons. I am Director Rhea, she said. What you see here is only a part of what we've built. They invited her aboard, and she walked with quiet confidence. She listened to the Council's words, the pleas, the apologies, the requests for guidance. When they finished, she asked only one question. Do you remember how you treated us? The room grew still. We offered help, she continued. You laughed. We warned you. You ignored. We asked for peace. You called us paranoid, so we left. Not because we wanted to be alone, but because we knew what was coming. She turned and touched a screen. It lit up with stars, many of them, blinking red. These are systems you've already lost. We saw this threat long before it reached you. We studied it, planned for it, prepared entire networks you never knew existed. But why didn't you stop it before? One Council leader asked. She looked at him and said softly, because some lessons must be felt before they can be understood. The Council delegation sat in silence, understanding the weight of her words. Humanity hasn't abandoned the galaxy, she continued. We've been watching, quietly, waiting for the moment when you'd realize the truth, not about us, about yourselves. She gestured to the stars. What's coming isn't just a threat to you, it's a test for all of us, and only those who are truly ready will survive it. The meeting ended. Director Rhea returned to her ship and disappeared into the silent black. The Council now had their answer. Humanity was still out, they're stronger, smarter, and more prepared than anyone ever guessed. But whether they would fight alongside the Council again, that decision had yet to be made. The journey into the unknown had shaken even the most powerful members of the Galactic Council. For years they had dismissed Earth's warnings, ignored their research, and labeled their concerns as fear-driven stories. Now, after facing silence from lost worlds and witnessing the cold confidence of Director Rhea, the Council began to understand. They had misjudged humanity completely, but understanding was not enough. Not anymore. The Council needed answers. Real ones. Not from AI guardians or abandoned stations, but from the humans themselves. They needed to see how far Earth had truly gone in its quiet isolation. More importantly, they needed to know if there was still a chance, any chance that humanity would help. One final set of coordinates remained. It wasn't found in a secret file or ancient data packet. It was handed over directly by Director Rhea before she vanished. No explanation, just a single sentence. If you want to see who we've become, come here. The location was deep inside a shielded system, far from any known star paths. The records called it Project Aegis. The Council had no knowledge of it. Number 1 did. A joint delegation was formed, scientists, diplomats, even old allies of Earth. As they entered the region, their sensors were immediately blocked. Every scan failed. Every system they were flying blind. And then, like stars breaking through a storm, the shadows parted. They saw it. A vast structure, larger than any space station the Council had ever seen. It didn't orbit a planet, it wasn't anchored to a moon. It floated in free space, surrounded by rings of defense satellites, layered energy shields, and thousands of quiet ships, but unmoving. A voice came through instantly, calm, controlled, but not recorded this time. You are entering Earth's protected zone. State your reason, or turn back. The Council's message was simple. We seek to understand. We seek peace. We seek you. There was a long pause. Then permission was granted. One ship, only one, was allowed to dock. A landing platform extended from the side of the station, unfolding like a giant hand. The surface shimmered with technology none of the delegates had seen before. As they stepped out, the silence around them was heavy, but not hostile. It was the silence of precision, of purpose. They were guided by artificial drones through clean, echoing halls. The walls showed no symbols, no banners. It felt almost empty until the doors opened to a wide, circular chamber. Humans stood waiting. Not many, just a handful. But their presence felt stronger than an army. They didn't speak right away. Then one man stepped forward. Older but you abandoned us when we needed you most. And now, you come here asking for help. Why should we offer it? The Council's lead diplomat stepped forward. His voice did not shake. Because we were wrong. And we are not here to command. We are here to listen. The human leader, Admiral Kale, studied them for a long time. You see this place, he said? Everything here was built after we left the Council. While you debated politics and ignored rising threats, we studied them. While you chased trade profits, we studied war. Not to start it, but to end it if it came. He turned, activating a massive display showing enemy movement across the galaxy. Dozens of Council systems were already under silent siege, but Earth's defenses stood untouched. The enemy had not dared to cross the line. Because they know, Kale said, what you never believed, that humans are not what you thought. A delegate asked softly, then what are you? Kale looked around the room before answering. We're the ones who stayed awake while you slept. The silence grew. We will help, he continued. But not because you asked. We'll help, because there are innocent lives beyond your walls. You may have ignored us, but we will not ignore them. But understand this, he added. We are not returning to the Council. The Council must come to us ready to change, ready to listen, and ready to learn what it means to truly protect the galaxy. As the delegates left the station, their minds were spinning. They had not just found humanity, they had found something greater. A force of quiet strength. A civilization forged in isolation. A power that had no desire to rule but every ability to save. And now, the galaxy would learn just how much Earth had changed, and how much it had been preparing all along. The Council's fleet returned. Not in pride, but in silence. Their ships, once symbols of status and control, now felt small against the memory of what they had just witnessed. Earth had grown beyond them, not in numbers, not in territory, but in something far more powerful. Understanding, the delegates brought back data, projections, maps, names of systems that were already lost or would soon fall. The threat wasn't a wave, it was a storm, unfolding in slow, silent stages. Most species didn't even know they were in danger yet, but Earth did. Earth had known for decades. The Council leaders gathered in emergency session. This time, there was no debate, no politics. They watched the data in stunned silence. Every prediction the humans had made years ago was now coming true. The enemy's patterns, their blind spots, their strange silence after every strike. All detailed long before the first world had even fallen. Someone finally asked, how did the humans know? The answer was simple. They had paid attention. While the Council had dismissed strange readings as sensor errors and ignored missing traders as random disappearances, humans had built entire simulation networks. They had quietly connected patterns that no one else noticed. They didn't shout it across the stars. They studied, planned, built and waited, but what shook the Council most wasn't just Earth's knowledge. It was their choice. Earth hadn't used its technology to threaten. They hadn't demanded control. They didn't gloat or punish those who once mocked them. Instead, they offered help. Carefully, quietly, on Earth's terms. A message arrived 2 days after the fleet returned. It wasn't sent through Council channels, but through a private, encrypted frequency that no one even remembered assigning to Earth. The message was short. We are watching, we are ready. If you want our help, meet us halfway. It came with new coordinates. The Council's leadership hesitated. They had never needed to meet halfway before. They were used to calling others to them, not stepping forward themselves. But times had changed. The galaxy had changed. And now Earth had changed to ... so they went. This time, it wasn't a formal visit or a grand arrival. No escorts, no fanfare, a quiet landing on a moon without a name, a simple outpost. One human, no guards. Her name was Marin Vale. She was a tactician, not a soldier, not a politician. Her clothing was plain. Her words were simple. You've seen what's coming, she said, and now, you finally believe it's real. The Council's envoy nodded. We need your help. All of us do. Marin tilted her head. We knew this day would come. We didn't know when, but we hoped. When it did, you'd be ready to listen. She led them through the outpost, small, but filled with holograms and live data feeds from across the galaxy. Council systems were blinking red, one after another, and next to each red mark was a human tag: observed, predicted, active, response. You didn't just watch, one council member whispered. You've already started. Marin gave a faint smile. We never stopped. As they walked, the delegation realized this wasn't just about defense. It was something deeper. Earth had formed quiet partnerships with dozens of minor species the council had overlooked. They had trained them, protected them, grown with them. You left us, a delegate said. No, Maran replied. We left your table, but we never left the galaxy. That night, as the twin moons of the unnamed world rose above the outpost, the council finally understood what Earth had become. Not a weapon, not an empire, but a silent guardian. One that had prepared for the worst. Not for power, but because no one else would. And now, the question remained, could the rest of the galaxy rise to stand beside them? Because the storm hadn't ended. The real test was still ahead, and Earth was already moving. Asterisk, the stars were no longer quiet. Across council space, once peaceful systems now echoed with warnings. Strange gravitational shifts. Communications cut mid-transmission. Trade routes darkened without explanation. The signs weren't sudden, they had been slow, creeping, almost gentle, like a tide rising beneath the surface. But now, the tide had reached their doors, and still the source of the threat remained unseen. At first, the Council had hoped Earth would simply share weapons, ships, shields, anything to push back, whatever. Force was devouring the edges of the galaxy. But Earth offered something far more difficult, far more powerful. Strategy, patience, unity, humanity. Didn't rush into battles, they didn't strike blindly. Instead, they taught, quietly, in secret facilities hidden on moons and deep space platforms. They began training teams not just in combat, but in how to think like the enemy, how to spot silence, how to read a system with no signals, and still, no, something was wrong. For the first time in centuries, the Council wasn't giving the orders. They were taking them, and surprisingly, it worked. Small victories began to appear, planets saved at the last moment. Entire colonies evacuated before the enemy struck. The tide didn't turn yet, but it slowed. The fear didn't vanish, but it became focused. Still, one question hung over every meeting, every night watch crew, every scout who disappeared into the darkness. Where was humanity's real fleet? The ones who visited Earth's forward bases saw impressive technology but not overwhelming numbers. They saw training centers, data archives, advanced simulations but not the powerful ships one might expect from a species that had disappeared to prepare for decades. Until one day, without warning, the question was answered, not with words, but with light. Over a dying star near the outer rim, Council patrols had spotted the enemy massive, slow-moving structures that bent space as they passed. No life signs, no language, just purpose. Cold, silent purpose. The Council scrambled. They had no nearby fleets, no time. But then, the sky changed. 33 human ships emerged from the shadows, not sleek, not glowing with power, but solid, layered, designed not for beauty but for survival. They didn't fire right away. Instead, they moved in complete silence, coordinated. Every movement had a reason. Every ship knew its place, and when they finally wasn't chaos, it was precision. The enemy didn't fall, not yet. But it slowed, it shifted, it hesitated, and for the first time, it retreated. The message from Earth that followed wasn't triumphant, it wasn't proud, it was clear. This is only the beginning. The true battle is not just out there, it's in how we move forward, together or apart. Suddenly, every Council world began changing. Old rivalries faded, bureaucracies crumbled. Species that had once spoken only through diplomats now worked side by side, because they had finally understood the lesson humanity had learned long ago. Survival in a vast, silent galaxy doesn't come from power. It comes from preparation and unity, and never turning away when something feels wrong, even if others laugh. Earth had once stood alone in that belief. Now, they no longer had to. The galaxy, once deaf to their warnings, had heard them at last. And though the enemy still lurked beyond the edge of known space, this time, humanity would not face it alone. This time, the stars would answer together.